finger finds me like a gun barrel. The nave is bright with smoke, and the cough of censers vox hymns grind. My sanctioned brand crawls hot against the urgent cold sliding toward me. Red lenses, iron stitches in leather. A gloved hand reaches without hurry, touches my throat as if weighing a coin. This one. I taste copper. The absence beside the pointing man gulps the world, and my mind buckles as if stepping through a missing stair. Minutes fold into boot falls, incense ghosts, and the measured rasp of prayer masks. Down steps, through unlit doors, through grindstone air that polishes sound into thinness. I keep the catechism like a bolt between my teeth and tongue. Breath in counts of 8, hold on 5, out on 10. Tighten hands until nails find meat. The whispering edge of me retreats and curls, that is how I keep it. I learned it thirsty, strapped to a radiator in a white room that smelled of lemon and old metal. Men with rosaries pacing out numbers on my back with their palms, stopping when I found the numbers myself. One of the men ahead bears a skull at his collar. The skull looks back at me, gilded smooth where fingers have asked it for truth. The man with the pointing finger does not look back. The thing beside him is the true weight, a shape in gray, hooded, haloed in nothing. No dust lands on it. The air does not own it. Even when it draws even with me, my mouth dries in a sudden winter, and I think of my first drowning as a child. How the river puckered the world around my face, how voices became the wet slap of palm against wake. We on the floor of a small chapel, hard as an ammunition crate. My knees slide and bark, a hand lowers my head. The altar has teeth of brass, they bite wood, not bread. I wait for the words that will solve the gap in my chest. Words are knives here, and the man with the pointing finger lets them tumble like shot from a purse. Recusant, blasphemer, witch. Each is colder than the last because they match the shape already frozen in me. He shows a sigil on a chain. I close my eyes. It sinks through my lids and prints the darkness, 8-point skull and eye, sunburst like a nailhead seen too long. The gray figure steps closer, and everything in my skull hoots thinly and falls down a long shaft. Stand, someone says. I do not, my knees know older laws. They draw me to my feet. They take my wrists and press iron around bone. It hums. The hum cracks the quiet part of me like a boot on ice. There is a brittle music only I hear breaking. I try not to bleed from my ears. The iron tastes like old coins against my tongue, though I do not bite it. They lay a page on the altar. The paper is velveted with use, greasy with candles, freckled by ash like a sick child's face, and the man with the chain reads without moving his lips much. The damp in his breath smells of licorice and old meat. My name is on the paper, but it is pronounced wrong. It tilts in his mouth and comes out as a number. They prefer numbers. Numbers do not argue, numbers slot. 2 nights since, he says, you spoke in the refectory that you had seen a false light moving behind the iconostasis. He waits. My throat is a tube full of bees. I nod, not shake. I keep it simple. And you told 3 men that the saints were ash, and the ash sang to you. I said the ash sang prayers, sir. I keep my hands quiet in their irons. My heart wants to use them to climb out of my chest. You said it taught you a better prayer. I think of the ash on the scouts' boots, how it glittered as they stamped them before the refectory door. I think of my gift's thin tongue licking gently at the world, the way it finds patterns in heat and breath and dust, how it rubs the world to see the shape of what hides. I said I heard a word I did not know, I say. The gray absent steps forward and the bees in my throat die. The hexes burn me clean. I hold to numbers, 8, 5, 10. They do not want my numbers, they want a shape to give to their fear. A shape fits into a pyre better than a number. Their fear will be warm. They take me from the chapel to a room of drains and hooks. The lights are fat and buzzing, and the shadows hang like women's skirts at a well. The iron at my wrists ties to a ring in the floor. When they draw the chain tight, I fold like a knife and my mouth sleeps on the tiles for a breath. Someone laughs distantly as if from the belly of a bell. The man with the chain does not come alone. He brings a priest with a face like a candle stub. He brings a servitor that smells like vinegar and thunder. Its augmetic eye telescopes and hums at me. He brings the gray absence. I cannot find its face. I look and my eyes fill with hail. The priest paints oil on my eyelids and whispers. The words are rope, they make loops in the air. I do not recognize the knots. When he slaps my cheeks, the oil stings. Look at me, he says, but when I try, his face goes soft like fruit. What did you see? Asks the chain man. He does not shout. He holds his questions like knives flat in his palm, edge facing me. Use few words, tell it straight. The straightest thing I know is numbers. 8, 5, 10. But numbers are not what he needs. A light, I say. Not candlelight. A seam across the air near the big icon. Like you see when a pistol's heat wakes the air, just inside. I thought it was my head, but it stayed when I blinked. It moved. Shadows moved also without cause. I listened. I heard ash on boots. I heard it say a word I do not know. I told the brothers so they would pray. What word? The chain man steps closer. I feel for it. It flees. The gray absence sucks it away like a drain taking the last tea leaf. Only the rim grit of it remains, a crooked taste like torn foil. I do not know, I say. If I did, I would have burned my tongue with it so it would be useful. The priest smacks me again. Not hard, not for damage, for pattern. Pain wrings the brain like a wet cloth, it shows what drips. Do not make cleverness, he says. Speak truth. I open my mouth. The hum in my irons climbs. The world narrows to coin flavors, to hot leather, to floor dust like flour on my lip. The absence breathes, I think, and each breath makes less of me. I am sanctioned, I say. I hear the stupid pride in it as if someone else said it through my mouth. I have never. Sanction is permission, the chain man says, not pardon. He nods to the servitor. The machine rolls forward. It holds a brand in its claw, heavy black, baked, notched with script. It glows as if embarrassed. I try to move my face away and find that my neck is tethered also. When did they loop it? I was counting, I should have counted that. The brand licks my shoulder and all the bees explode into glass. My mouth still makes the shape of a prayer, but sound deserts. The smell is sweet enough to make me retch. The iron sinks into my bone and carves a story there that cannot be told in any other way. It is not the sanctioning mark. That burnt a law into me once, a ring of pain that said there is a border. This is not a border, this is a hole. Accused, says the chain man, and he lays a second blow below the first. Pending trial. That word should be relief. It is a delay. They have given me hours like a man gives a dog an hour after tying it to a train rail. The gray absence steps so near my tongue curls like a leaf. I had a face once. It had a mother's eyes in it. I cannot call that face forward now. The absence is a sky without stars. They march me into air again. The doors vomit me into a corridor lined with alarms that are not ringing but look eager to. Men step aside, making gaps around me as if I were fire. My feet smear a dark letter across the floor. I drag it with me like a signature I cannot stop writing. They do not hood me. Men who are sure do not hide their faces, nor do they cover the faces of those they think dead already. They take me to a stair that smells like thunder and latrine, up to a balcony over the nave where they found me. The hymns still grind below. The faithful are a black tide in the candle surf. No one looks up. My distance makes me tender to them. I love their little bowed skulls, their hopeless patience, their clicking beads. I wish my head bowed among them instead of here, gripped by a collar and a case number. The chain man shows me to the crowd like a fisherman shows a bright thing from the lake. I understand this theater. The prayer vox scoops his words and spills them upon the wet heads below. Accused, he says, and even at this height I see the flinch run through them like a fish in shallow grit. Are charged with false vision and uttering a name unsanctioned. Unsanctioned name. The phrase is a door closing. Something in my stomach stops its work and sits like a tool left in a field. I hold to numbers. 8, 5, 10. I braid them. They cut my tongue. The gray absent stands with the chain man. Her, its hands idle, and its presence is a tomb without smell. My gift scrabbles uselessly at its skin like a moth at glass. They wheel me past the balcony into the place of trials, which is not a courtroom like in books, but a vestry with drains and rails. People stand in the shadows, adepts with rubbed fingers, officers with measure-shaped eyes, a woman in white with a bowl full of ash, cradled as if it sleeps. No one cheers. The silence crouches, jaws clenched. You will be tried by ordeal of liturgy, says the chain man. You will recite the 47 lines while holding the burning icon. Errors condemn. Faith defends. Do you assent? Assent. The word is smooth, and it tastes like resignation and like my first yes to men with clipboards. If I say no, they will do it anyway and break 3 more of my fingers teaching obedience. My assent costs less than their lessons. The servitor raises a plate. On it, the icon stands like a hill with a man nailed to it. The metal already grows dusk with heat. It glows dull like a kettle left long. I reach. The iron on my wrists grates. The chain man nods. The priest mutters. When I take the icon, in my hands forget that they are hands. They become light, and the light becomes a scream that leaks through the cracks of my teeth. I begin the lines. I am empty that you may fill me. The absent steps closer. The air gouges my lungs. Thought is meat. Words come apart like boiled bone. Your name upon my vision fills with falling gravel. The lines skip. The familiar river of phrasings vanishes and leaves a trench and white stones in it. And the voices that taught me, iron and lemon and numbers, are quiet and afraid. Weapon and breath, and I am skipping. I know I am skipping. The priest leans closer. He sniffs like a butcher checking freshness. Hold the third, demands the chain man. My hands are not hands. They are glowing stumps that drip screaming. My mouth tries to shape the third pleading. It finds not prayer, but a morsel of the word I heard by the refectory's icon, a crooked flake of forbidden taste. It cuts me inside. My blood wakes above my tongue. I choke. The chain man takes the icon from me as if merciful. He studies my hands, slow and professional. The skin loosens like old wallpaper and slides. He nods to a scribe. Failing, record. The woman with the bowl of ash brings it and dips 3 fingers into it and walks around me, smearing rings upon my neck. The ash is cold and itching. The rings choke my breath in a new way. I look for anyone I know. A cook who once traded me a crust for a story watches her toes. I had a runner girl who stole rosary seeds and laughed, now counts holes in the rail. No one holds my eyes. A guardsman I steady with forecasts sometimes. His shoulder is weeping where shrapnel took a bite last week, makes the sign against evil and steps behind a pillar. I do not blame them. If I were them, I also would not be. The hours pull out of shape. They take me to a cell no bigger than the cupboard where we kept coal when I was small. The light is chemical, thorn bright. In the chain finds a ring and learns a new tension. They leave me water and a taste of copper. The gray absence does not come inside but stands without and keeps my mind as a hawk keeps a vole pinned under the gaze. That gaze makes every second transparent. Through 1 second I see the next. They stack, they are a wall. I sleep in small slices. Each slice is a drop of black that shatters without noise. And in one slice I dream of the number 8 opening like a flower, in another I am underwater. And someone is warming my cold head in their hands in a third. All my prayers are the same line, and it is the one about fire. More often than not, I wake to the taste of smoke and think maybe the pyre has been lit and I only am late to my body's message. When they bring me out again, there is no theater left. The nave is tired of us, and the attendance has thinned into loyalists and onlookers who can afford curiosity. Outside the stained window, the sky is iron with a thin blush low in the east. Dawn is a knife held backhand. The chain man is slower now, and every movement says, "Nothing you do will ease this." He speaks low. "Do you repent, number? Speak it if true. Speak early if true. Repent." I could build a bridge with that word and walk it to a gentler place. But of what? Of listening? Of opening when opened? Of the small old joy when my gift saved 3 men last winter, tugging them back from a booby stare because the air down there tasted peeled and wrong. I think of them and their wives, how one of the wives gave me a boiled sweet and said for luck, and I said I did not need luck, I needed mathematics, and she laughed and kissed my brow. I swallow. There is ash in everything. I repent pride, I say, because I know I have that. I repent speaking past my place. I do not repent hearing what I hear. The priest sighs like a bellows failing. The chain man's jaw goes hard. The scribe makes a small, pleased scratch. "Then be judged," the chain man says. "No more theater, no more optimism disguised as process. Only the thing that carries the day to its end." The courtyard smells like pitch and last night's rain. The stake is not the tall gallows I imagined as a boy when I feared this day on behalf of wicked men. It is modest, human-sized, e'en with a footbar for someone kind to stand upon to tie me. How thoughtful. The wood is raw and hairy. A bucket of tar sleeps at its base, lid off, surface like cooled gravy. I walk. My feet are bad at it. Chain bites my ankles. The sky is a lid just beginning to brighten at one rim with something that might be mercy. The crowd is smaller here and braver. Some of them look at me open-mouthed as if I might cough up a bird or a bolt of cloth. One boy grins because death pleases boys at the distance where it is a story. An old woman weeps without sound. Her tears make a careful track through the ash upon her cheeks. I love her, and I do not want to. They brace me to the post. The rope smells of river rot. It tightens black across my chest. I feel the knot as a fat knuckle pressing sternum. Another goes around my thighs, my shins, my wrists. When they find my burned hands, they wince. Competent men saddened by their craft. One wraps cloth around my palms so the skin will not stick to the rope and tear. His hands are gentle. His gentleness brings me a sob like a stone from a well. The priest speaks. The lines were living once in me and now lie like cold worms. I mouth some of them because habit has a spine of its own. He anoints my forehead with oil and ash until it is paste. He asks me last chance to speak the name of salvation. The word hides. I hunt it in the muzzle press of the absence waiting behind my thoughts. It scuttles. My mouth finds another word instead, small and stupid, the word I used as a child when light woke me and I wanted comfort. "Mama," I say, and a laugh climbs from the crowd and shivers into nothing when they remember laughter is sin where we stand. The chained man avoids my eyes. He tips his chin to the men at the braziers. Flame answers like a trained dog. The pitch wakes and seethes. In a line of smoke lifts into the air, thin as a signature. The The fire is the color of oranges I saw once, in a crate, before the overseer took it away. It licks the pyre. It breathes. My breath tries to learn from it. Heat finds my shins as if someone else's hands have walked up to me and laid palms on both bones. Polite at first? Sure. Then more. It climbs the ladder of rope with cricket noise. My skin is not brave. It curdles. My gift, which has spoken of tides and distances in me all my life, you is a small bird under a bush going slower and slower. There is a soft step beside my left ear. The gray absence has mounted the dais. It does not touch me, though. It does not have to. It stands close enough that the last of the singing in my head goes mute, quiet like the moment after lightning before the thunder remembers itself. In that quiet, the ash in my mouth speaks not a word but a weight. Sink, it says. Unmake. Be less. I want to say I am not what you fear. I want to say I serve. And I want very much to say that I am sorry I ever opened my mouth that night. That I should have swallowed the strange and let it chew on me alone. But words need air, and air is busy now, making my lungs into cupboards of pain. The men back away. Heat goes up my thighs. Rope burns before flesh gently, conservatively, careful to teach the lesson by degrees. I think for a second of stepping off the little footbar myself to hasten the teaching. But that would be another sin, and I am full enough, and the tar breathes louder around my feet. My world narrows to textures, the sear stink like meat that was once mine going somewhere else. The wet in my eyes cooling as it slides, rope fiber biting, wind turning the smoke. It does not always go up, sometimes it goes sideways and comes back to wrinkle my skin with its black tongue. The crowd's feet are a black shore, thousands of little shoals. Something in my back opens, not flesh. A small door I didn't know I had, and through it I glimpsed the refectory's icon and the seam of air and the words scuttling like a lizard's belly across hot stone. It is not a devil's word, it is a hinge. It is the crack between a box and its lid. It glitters because it is tight. I do not say it. I do not even let my tongue dream of it. I keep it the way a man keeps a bit of string in his pocket in case someday he needs to close something. Above me, the sky's thin blush clarifies. A gull passes, a blade with wings, and its cry is a nail on glass. The chain man makes the sign over his chest. The priest mispronounces mercy. The gray absence lowers its head as if in prayer. The fire finds the cloth they wrapped my hands in, and the cloth finds my skin. I try to clench and cannot. The pain is too many teeth to tally. I count anyway. 1, 2, 3, no, 8, 5, 10. I hold to them as if they are a rail on a shaking stair. A woman steps forward from the crowd, brave, mad, and flings a small lump that strikes my shin and sticks and flares bright. Pitch from a private flask maybe, or a coal dressed like a gift. A soldier hauls her back by the elbow. She does not struggle. She only watches as if she has thrown me something to make the trip easier. Black climbs my knees and blooms. In its breath I smell the kitchen where I once licked a spoon. I smell the room where I almost drowned in the towel my mother warmed on the oven door. I smell the lemon and metal of sanctioning. I smell the poor, sweat and bracken that clung to my skin after long drills in empty courtyards. All of these are honest smells. They do not lie about what they are. Between them, the ashes word tenses like a string. The last thing I see that is not fire is the knot at my wrist. It is brown and shiny and patient. A small green thread crosses it. Some workers repair in an hour no one will remember. It presses a shallow cross into my blistering skin, and for that second, everything that has been said about me is less than that pressure, less than that crosshatch of pain where fiber meets flesh.